Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi Harsha, good morning. Hi Vipul. Yep, we have around five people now. Let's wait for another couple of minutes and we shall start. Is that okay? Hi all, are you there? Am I audible? Okay, cool. Hi Rajiv, good morning. Hello Sandeep, good morning. Okay, well, let's start for the day. So, welcome to the Educators online training, and today we have to discuss with the module of Azure SQL Database. So the complete module would be about implementing Azure SQL Database. What are the key patterns that you have in the Azure SQL Database? How you can take a backup on the Azure SQL Database? How you're going to perform import, export operations? How you're going to do the geo replication patterns? And we will also speak about the security factors that we have in the Azure SQL Database, further connecting with the SQL Server Management Studio and all those things. So let's go ahead, and by the end of this module, you will be having the following objective clear, where you will be able to understand what are relation database services in Microsoft Azure. You'll be able to provision, configure, and manage the Azure SQL database. You will also be able to configure the security, that's your adding up the client IP address, all those things, a dynamic data masking for your Azure SQL database. You would be able to understand the managing the data recovery and the availability for Azure SQL database. So that's about the geo replication that you're going to follow. And followed by that, you'll be going for scaling strategy, it's a pooling, and then we would be working with implementing the storage recovery services. So this is about like how we are going to perform the backup operations that we have in Azure Storage. I mean, creating Azure Storage, and there you're going to put up a backpack file, and you're going to maintain the backup of your Azure SQL database. Let's get on to the day putting up a question mark of what an Azure SQL database service is. Remember, an Azure SQL database is same like what you work in the on-premise environment. It's a normal SQL database. But here, it is going to be fully managed one. It's a fully managed relational cloud database service, which will help you to broadcast the SQL Server engine, and you can migrate your SQL Server database without changing any of your apps. You can just accelerate your app environment, you can just accelerate your app development and make the maintenance easy and productive using the SQL tools, whatever you love to use with. You can take the full advantage of built-in intelligence that can work for the app patterns and can also maximize the performance by having elastic pooling and DTUs that we come up with, which can give you the reliability and the replication pattern where we go up with geo replication over here. And at top of all these things, you have a data protection that is given by Azure over here. So down the line, we would be using this to migrate your SQL Server database without changing your apps. You would be able to tune and you can protect your database with the built-in intelligence that we have here. You can also secure your app and ensure the availability at all time. So those are the key patterns what we have on the Azure SQL Database services. The Azure SQL Database service is going to be a general purpose one. It's same like a relation database service what you use it on MySQL. It also comes up with giving up the structures for the patterns for your relation data, and it supports your JSON, XML, and the spatial one. Commonly speaking about the databases that you have in the cloud, it's going to provide you with the global scalability and the availability. So here what you can find is you can go up with, I will just give you a notes over here. So here you can just go up with a, let me put up here as, give me one sec. I can even share this note for you guys. So Azure SQL databases. So you have the couple of Azure SQL database. Can you give me one second, please? I'll just configure my internet. Give me one sec, please. Okay. So, yep, all set. Let's go up here and I'll just move ahead speaking about a couple of things here. So one thing that we have is your OLTP, and the other thing that we have is OLAP. The OLTP, I hope you guys know, right? The OLTP is going to be the text processing that you're going to do. Okay, and this is going to be the analytical processing that you guys would be having it. So this is commonly for analytics that we are going to use, and this is for the text processing that you're going to work on. Now, the text processing is where you would be having your SQL database into it. So you have your Azure SQL database, which will be working over here. And further beyond that, you would be having this analytics where it works with Azure SQL Data Warehouse. You have Azure SQL Data Warehouse here. You have other tools like Data Factory. Okay. And you also have further tools like a Data Lake Store. So all these things will come under your Azure, OLAP. That's your analytical thing. And OLTP comes under the text and all these things. Further, you can also call Cosmos DB. So all these things will come under text processing. So commonly the text processing things would be there at your OLTP, and OLAP is for analytics. Now the point here is that this SQL database can also help you out coming further with your SQL data warehouse. So consider, let's say that I would be giving you a SQL database where which I need to put it on the SQL data warehouse to do some compute operations like big data store operations. Let's say that you have a huge volume of data, and from that huge volume of data, you have to come up with running your queries on multiple compute nodes. So all those things can be performed using this Azure SQL data warehouse. But the base is going to be your SQL database. The input which you're going to give it should be always on the relation database service format. That's your relation database tables. Okay. So this is the key pattern that we are going to follow now. and that's the same that you can find it on the screen. We have it here. It's going to give you a predictable performance and a dynamic scalability, and it's going to work for in-memory OLTP for extreme transactional processing. So if it is going to be an extreme transactional processing, there's something called pooling, where you can set a database, each and every database tier to have a particular pooling capacity. And once when that gets exceeded, right, once when the database gets maximum of usage, it can pool together and it can work for more availability. So there we go for this extreme transactional processing. And the no downtime and built-in intelligence is about Azure ensures that your database would be having no downtime. In case if something happens to the primary data center, still you can access the data from the secondary data center that you have. So that's geo-replication pattern what we follow. So these factors are all same, and you have service tiers, that is your basic tier, your standard tier, premium, and premium RS. So this is based on the weight of the database. This is based on the workloads that you have. Let's make sense of the service plans. So whenever you're going to put up a Azure SQL database, you should always ensure that it's going to have a predictable performance. It's going to give you a high compatibility and a simple management. So predictable performance is about the DTUs, how many transaction units it's going to throughput units it's going to consume across. So the very basic thing that you need to do is whenever you put up a database, you need to come up here. You need to search for the limitations that you have, eDTUs for Azure SQL Database. So you can scroll down here. You should find a link. Give me one sec. DTU based resource limits. Yep, here you are. So you have eDTUs per pooling. Okay, you can find it here. It includes the storage per pool, and for let's say for 50 eDTUs per pool, you can see that you can find the concurrent users. See the maximum concurrent workers per pooling. The maximum request that it can hold is 100. So when it goes for 101, it's not going to give you connection timed out, but it will wait until the users have been logged out. So this is the maximum that you need to come up. You have to specify the pooling limits that you have. It comes up with basic, you have standard, all these things. So you need to check with this pattern. I will share this link with you guys. You need to check with this pattern and then you have to put up your database. You can also go up with a scalability later. So this will help you to make sense which data limit pattern that you need to use it across. I'll just put this on the questions panel so that you guys can take a note of this link, or I will put it on the notes and I will share it for you. Okay. So for eDTUs, you need to come up here and you need to check the limitations that we have. So that's one point, and it's going to be a simple managed one. Same like your virtual machine, what you have, you're going to get a REST API, you're going to get an endpoint, you'll be having access keys, and using the access keys, you would be able to access your database. So here goes different things that you have. The very first thing is that you should have a logical server to get connected towards your database. The logical server is nothing but the SQL server. It's same like what you have. Let's say that if you're on-premise, you'd be creating a database, and for that database, you'd be having a SQL Server Management Studio where you're trying to connect with probably say for example you would be connecting with your Windows authentication, or you would have even created a SQL Server authentication and you will try to connect with the SQL Server authentication. So that's the same pattern what we have here. You need to give the administrative task that will work for multiple databases. You can put up a server and a server can hold multiple database. You need to log in with that particular SQL server. The other factor that we have here is that you also need to ensure the database, I mean the machine where you're going to access the server's IP address has been logged in as such. So that's one another factor that you need to consider. The next comes pooling. All database within the server are self-contained. So each database can independently scale up and it can independently scale down. Let's say you can set up pooling capacity. I hope you guys understand what is a pooling. So each and every DTUs or each and every service tiers that you're going to configure would be having a pooling capacity. And if the database is not going to use the entire pooling, then the database can share the pooling capacity with the other databases what they have. So that's why we go for pooling on the database. Next, we have the managed instance where the database cannot share the resource and each database can come up with some server level, SSL feature where you can put up a security layer into it. You can have a SQL agent, service broker, all these things. Instead of going up with all these slides, I would like to show it on the real time for you guys. So I'll go to the Azure portal and I'll show you how a SQL database will look like. Any questions before that? Are you all there? Hi Arsha, any questions? Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and I will try creating a SQL server so I can SQL database. So I can click on create a resource and yeah, hi Tarak, thanks for responding. You can go for create a resource and I would go for databases. So in this database, I will go for Azure SQL Database. So let's click on SQL Database here and let's give the name. So I've named this as Edureka. So the DB name is going to be Edureka. I can put up a resource group. I'll name this resource group as Edureka Module 7 resource group. Okay, let's click on OK. And this is where you can put up a template that is your sample one. You have backup, you can call from any of the, let's say a backup file what you hold already. And you can also put it as a blank database. So here, let's say that I would go for a blank database. Yeah, someone has raised their hands. Rajiv, do you have any questions? Yep, tell me, Rajiv. Rajiv, I have unmuted you. You can speak. Can we install the SQL on existing VM as well? Yes, Rajiv, you can install SQL on an existing VM as well, but it would take a long time for you. Instead, what you can do is that you have the image which has been predefined by Azure. You can use those VMs. Okay, I will show you the demo. We have an image, customized image, SQL Server machine, which we have it here. So you can install that on your VM. Okay. Any other questions? Well, I hope we are good to go, right? Okay, so here I'm going to select the source, which is going to be a blank database, and let's go for the server, and you can create a new server here. Harsha, we will be creating a server. See, I'm creating a server here. See, I hope you guys are getting confused with a virtual machine. I'm now working on a PaaS. Okay, each and every database that you're going to put it up on Azure also would be having a server. Server is for authentication and where it can hold your databases. Okay, so this is going to be a PaaS component. Forget about infrastructure. I will come up with the infrastructure as well. Okay, as of now, just focus here to get into the PaaS components. Okay. So I will give the server name. Let's give the server name as again Edureka and username would be demo user. Please remember this username and password. So it's going to be at Southeast Asia. Let's click on select. And here comes something called pooling. So pooling is where you're going to configure the pooling for each and every individual databases. So let me help you guys to make sense. You can go for the pooling when each and every database has a separate sort of a functionality. You're going to say that each and every database will work for a separate pooling capacity. And if it's not going to come up with a maximum usage, then the pooling can be shared with other things. So SQL database elastic pools are cost-effective solution which can help you to manage and you can scale the multiple databases that can have an unpredictable demand and performance. Let's say you have one database which is going to have a DTO of 5 or 10 in limits, and there are chances that it can come up with 100 or I mean like 50 at least by tomorrow. Then you need to increase the scalability. You need to increase the pooling capacity for that. So the databases which is not going to consume the pooling can come up here, can use the pooling what you have on the other databases which are not consumed. So to implement this, you can click on yes, you can go for elastic pool and you can configure the elastic pool here. See, you can give a name for the poolings. So this works with your DTUs. I can just give it as Edureka again, and you can configure the pool here. You click on configure pool, you can find basic, standard, premium, all these things. So you go to basic, you can find this limit, 4,958 bucks for a month, and you have EDTUs, which is 50. Now, I hope you guys remember, right? You need to go here and you need to check it. So if it is going to be a basic 50 EDTUs, okay, I've selected 50 here. So you can count down for 50 EDTUs, you can include storage, that is 5 storage. Now I'm going to include only one storage, okay? And you can do the storage pooling, but it's not available here, okay? The maximum storage pooling. The maximum number of DBs that you can attach here is 100, and the maximum concurrent users who can log in at a moment is going to be again 100. So you need to ensure you would be this predictable performance would be okay for your applications as such. So now let's come up here. You can say that I'm going to use this polling. Let's click on apply and I'll click on select to get it done. Well, once after this is done, you can just click on create to get it created. The collation pattern is going to be the default one which Azure gives to you. Let's wait until the DB gets deployed. Meanwhile, I need a lab VM as well, so I will deploy that also. I hope you guys have this, right? I would just give the inbound ports to be added. Selected ports 3389. Okay, let's click on create to get it created. Yep, some question. How many SQL instance can be installed on same SQL server? Hi Rajav, it depends on what plan you're going to use it here. Okay, so the service tier that you're going to select, you can find it here right on the screen. Can you find this? Elastic pools and all these things. So each and every service, like let's say a basic, a standard, all these things have multiple limitations. You need to check with that. Is that okay? You can go for the SQL database service. Wait, I will show you. You have the limitations. Even this link should help you out. Here I have selected pooling. If it's going to be a standalone server, then you would come for this. Okay. Yes, just makes sense with this part. I'm sharing the link with you people here. Well, I hope my database is created. Yes, I will click on this. So my database is created. I hope you people can find that there's a lot many changes that you have in the Azure portal now. So let's go for resource groups and I will go for the resource which I created. So yeah, here we are. So you have a SQL server, okay? You have a SQL database and you have the pooling which has been done. So you can click on the pooling first. It makes sense here. You can find the pooling capacity, okay? So you can create individual databases inside this pooling. It has maximum of 50 EDTUs and this can hold up to 100 database, but I have only one database here. So you can put up the databases inside this by clicking on create database and the DTUs you can manage by clicking on 0 to 5 DTUs. For each and every database, see per database settings. For each and every database, you're going to set up the pooling limit over here. Is that okay? Any questions? What is DTU? Okay, Harshad, DTU is something called as database throughput units. Okay, we can either call it as database throughput units or database transaction units. So the DTU will help you to go up with something on your read and write units. So how much read and write units you're going to have it on your database, how many concurrent users will log in for your database at the moment. Okay, so all those things you need to give a predictable value when you create a database for Azure. Are you clear, Arsha? Can we auto scale it? So that's what we call it as pooling. Okay, here we don't call it as auto scale, we call it as pooling. Let's say if a database goes with unpredictable performance in one database, you can pool it together that the other database can also stand with it to give to manage the performance that you have. So I hope you saw that we have a couple of options. One is creating a pooling and the other one is not creating a pooling. If you're not creating a pooling, then that's not an auto scale. It's going to be a standalone server. Any questions, Harsha? Okay, cool. So once after you configure your database, you need to go up here. See, I have my DB here. I can click on SQL database. And when I go to the database, you can find set server firewall. So you need to click on this set server firewall and you have to add the rule name here. I mean your client IP address. So when you click on add client IP address, it will add the machine's address value over here. But prior to this, what I need to do is I should have something called a SQL Server Management Studio. So I'll go to my Azure portal again and I'll create a SQL Server Management Studio machine. So I'll just search for SQL Server Management Studio. You can find it here. See, I have SQL Server 2016 Service Pack 1. But provided I will go for a free license one. Okay, so the billing would be less for me. You can find it here. I have free license SQL Server 2016 Service Pack 2 Express on Windows Server 2016. So let me create this machine. I'll click on this. So this is your IaaS part. Okay, I've named it as SQL VM. It's going to be a hard disk one. I'll put it on the same resource group. It can be on any of the resource group, but I need to delete it by the end of the day. So I'm going to give it on the same resource group. Size, I'll go for ds2 underscore v3 so that my machine's performance will be better. And here I'm going to call the RDP for me. So select the inbound port. It's going to be 3389 for us. Okay. So let's select 3389. Let's click on OK. And here you can put up a SQL Server settings. So it's going to be private within virtual network. Okay. 1433 SQL authentication. Let's enable. Let's give the login username, password. It's all going to be the same. Here you're going to give the settings where the patching work, that's your auto updates, critical update that Azure is going to update it for you guys. So that you can give it your Sunday at 2 a.m. You're going to keep the machine to be updated. And this is all disabled. Let's configure these things later. Okay, let's click on OK. And I'll click on create to create this machine. Okay, until this machine gets deployed, let me go for this lab VM and I will show you guys how you can connect from your Visual Studio environment. So let me go for this lab VM. I'll click on, I'll just connect for this machine. Rajiv, you have any question? What's the difference between both previous one and the current one? Both are SQL. Why we need to create another SQL? See, Rajiv, the very first one that I did is SQL database, an Azure SQL database, which holds a SQL server. Okay. But the second machine which I have created is a virtual machine. Okay. It's not a PaaS component, it's a virtual machine which has SQL Server Management Studio. Only with the help of your SQL Server Management Studio or using your Visual Studio, you'll be able to connect towards your Azure SQL database, right? And that's the reason I have created a VM. This is a MacBook environment. Okay, from here you cannot connect for your SSMS. Are you clear? Hi Tarak, Lab VM1 means which we create a new VM. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Tarak. So I will just show you guys how you can connect for your Azure SQL database from Visual Studio. Is this the server VM? No, Joyra. This is a normal Visual Studio. I mean, lab VM which we created by day one. It would take a bit long time for the first time to get loaded. Let's wait for it. Which is the best practice? Creating Azure SQL Database or creating a VM which has the Visual Studio? Chandu, both of these things are completely different. See, one is like you're going to speak about how you're going to give access to your database. You need a Visual Studio, right? I consider Lab VM. Why I'm using is I don't have Visual Studio on my machine. Okay, and that's the reason I'm considering a Windows machine which has a virtual machine, which is a virtual machine, and it has a Visual Studio. And using Visual Studio, I'm showing it to you guys. Okay, provided the SQL database is completely different. It's a PaaS component what you have. Are you clear, Chandu? Okay, I'll sign in with my account here. In real time, we use PaaS component. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll just sign in with my account here. Meanwhile, let me check the deployment of the other virtual machine, whether it's deployed or not. Still, it's getting deployed. Okay, so here you can go for the Server Explorer, right? And you can click on this Connect to Database. Click on this Connect to Database option. You can find Microsoft SQL Server. Click on Continue. And here you need to give the server name. So the server name, what I have here is, I will just go here, Edureka, right? So I can copy this server name. I can just give a copy from uh, probably, yep, let me go for the database. Yes, here you have the server name. Let's copy this server name. I will just give it here. And it's going to be a SQL Server authentication. You need to give the user ID and password for your SQL Server authentication. You just have blank database there. You can click on OK to get it connected. Can you find this? Edureka.master.dbo is there. And when you elaborate this, you can find the tables, all these things, right? And if you want to create a database from here, you can even right click. Okay, you should be having it here. Yes, this one. You can right click and you can write a new query. You can write the queries inside this. Okay, you can say write new query and you can create a database. You can create a table. You can give the primary indexes, foreign keys, all these things over here. So that's about your Azure SQL database that you can connect from your Visual Studio environment. You can write your queries here and you can just click on run to run it. Now let's go ahead and try with the SQL Server Management Studio for the same. So what you can see, this is a machine which I created, okay, for a SQL Server Management Studio. I will just go ahead here. I have SQL Server Management Studio. You can click here, scroll down, you can find it. Yep, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Yes, some question. Do we have any third-party tools to connect to Azure SQL Database? Chandu, normally it's Visual Studio or SQL Server Management Studio, no other third-party tools. I mean, nothing from Microsoft to get connected with. Can we upload the on-premise SQL database in this SQL? Yes, you can do it, Raju. I will show you. Give me one moment. It's getting loaded. Yep, some question. The VM which you opened is got created with Azure SQL Database. Chandu, I did not create Azure SQL Database. I created SQL Server. Please do remember, I created two things. One is a PaaS component, which is Azure SQL Database, and the other one that we have is your virtual machine, which is SQL Server Management Studio. And for the SQL Server Management Studio, we need a SQL Server authentication, and that's what we gave. Are you clear? Okay, let me try connecting. I have given the server name as SQL VM, and I can give the SQL Server authentication. So this is the authentication which I gave by that time. I can say demo user, demo at the rate pass 123. Let's click on connect. See, this is the problem. Now, why we are not able to connect is that the client IP address has not been added. Okay, so what you need to do is you have to go for your Azure portal from here, from this machine. So that's the security feature that we have. Okay. can go to your Azure portal. Yes. So here, let's go for the database. Let's go for resource groups. We shall go for the module 7 resource group. You can go to the database that we have here. So you can go for set server firewall. And in this set server firewall, you can click on add client IP address. Click on save to get it saved. Yep. So this address has been added now. And we shall try going up with your SQL Server Management Studio. Now let's click on connect to get it connected. It says login failed. Yeah. So we need to add all those machines IP address who want to access the SQL, isn't it? Yes, you're right, Raju. You need to add that. So this has been added. So now what I need to do is I can just go up and I would try creating a database. Okay, so you have databases here. Inside this, you can try creating a database. You can right click, you can say new database, and you can create it. So see, we have the DB name here. Okay, let me give the name as again Edureka DB. You can set the owner here, let it be a default one. I'll just click on OK now. So ideally, this database has been created inside this VM. Okay, the SQL Server VM. Now, if you want to export it, you can right click. Okay, you can go for tasks here, and you can export the database to Microsoft SQL Server database, Microsoft Azure SQL database. So that's exactly how we are going to migrate. I'm not adding any values here. Okay, I hope you guys know about adding the tables, all these things. I'm just going to migrate this towards Azure SQL database. So let's say deploy database to Azure SQL database. So there we go. You can click on next, and yes, here you're going to give the server connection. So the server connection is supposed to be, give me one sec, let me check it here. Yeah, this, let's say this is going to be my server name. Yeah, click on connect SQL VM. Okay, let's click on connect. Let's click on connect. Yep. So this is going to use a maximum database size of 2 GB. The versioning that we were speaking about, okay, basic, standard, all these things. Let's click on next to get it added. What version of Management Studio is that? It is 17 image. You can find it here. See, 2017. Okay. Let's click on finish. So the source is going to be SQL VM, the local one, which is named as Edureka DB. Okay, the database is 16 MB in size, and we are going to move it towards the target, which is on cloud. Let's click on finish, and that gets migrated. Yeah. Hi Arsha, are you working from SQL VM virtual machine now? Yes, you're right, Arsha. We are working from SQL VM. Well, so the migration has been done now. You can find it here, okay? And we are to click on close, and that you can find it on the cloud, okay? Hey Yarsha, which IP we have added there before connecting to SQL Server Management Studio? You need to just go to your Azure portal, go for firewall settings. You can click on Add Client IP Address, okay? And once when you click on the Add Client IP Address, you'll be able to find the client IP address, and that will get added up automatically. You just need to click on Save to get it saved. That's it. Cannot we create this Azure SQL database in free trial? You mean free trial is subscription, Chandu, or you're speaking about the service plan? Yeah, you can do it on the subscription free trial. Hey, Arsha, which is that IP? That's the IP of your machine, the machine which you're working, right? The SQL VM, right? So for that, a client IP address will be generated by Azure itself. It's not your public IP address. Okay, remember, it's not a public IP address. The public IP is different. This client IP address will be generated by Azure itself. It says selected subscription is disabled. What does it mean? Check your subscription, Chandu, if the subscription is active or not. You would have gone out of money, so it's disabled. Okay, now let's go for the Azure portal, and in the resource group, I will go for my own one. I'll click on this module. See, you can find this Edureka DB, the one which we migrated from on-premise to the cloud one. Is that okay? Any questions? Hi Vasu. Please can you show up how we can restore SQL database backup to SQL Server Management Studio in Azure? Uh, Vasu, it's like your question is how we can move from cloud to on-premise. Am I right? So you're asking how to put it from Azure SQL Database, a backup, towards your machine that is running your SQL Server Management Studio. Let me know if I'm clear with your question or not. Okay, can you brief me please? To restore. To restore the backup to Azure. Yeah, we are going to perform that. Okay, we'll be performing a backpack file using Azure storage. We will go step by step. Okay, we'll be doing it today. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay, let me know if you guys have any other questions, please. Well, so the next demo which we have to perform is about importing and exporting your database. Okay. So to export a database, what you can do is you need to go for the database that you have. Say, for example, here I would go for just go for SQL databases first, and I have this Edureka. Okay. So let's click on this Edureka DB, and I can click on export to get it exported. So before I try to export this, I should have a storage account. Okay. So what you can do is you can just create a storage account. I'll go for the resource group of this and I'll create a storage account. Let's add a storage account. I'll click on create to create a storage account. So this storage account name is SQL Edureka. Well, so this will be a geo storage. It will be a version 1 of it. Well, let's click on create. Oh my god, no. I need to put it on different resource group. Could you please recap the process to create a SQL database once everything is done? Chandu, I will do it, Chandu. But please make sure that you're traveling along with us because we have plenty of demo. If your question is based on something where we are to do the deployment, it's fine. But once after scrolling from the step one is like others would also be waiting for the same. Okay. So to create a database, you need to go for create a resource. Click on databases. You can find SQL database. Give the name. Okay. Give the resource group name. All these things. Click on select source and select the source that you have, okay, or go for a blank database. If you need a server to be created or if you have an existing server, you can select it from here. You can go for use elastic pooling to do the pooling one, okay, between different databases. And you also have the pricing tier where you can select it. Is it going to be a basic one, standard, or anything as such? Click on create to get it created. That's it. Okay, so this storage account has been created. Now I'll go to export that database. Let's go for the resource groups. I would just go for this Edureka DB, the one which I created. Yeah, Edureka. And let's say export this. Yeah. So this is going to be the file name. It's going to be exported. Let's say this Edureka EXP. And let me call the storage account where it has to be exported. So it's going to be SQL Edureka. And let's create a container for this. I'll name this container as, let me give a short name for this as SQL container. Okay, this is not a problem. Let's click on OK to get it created. And inside this container, you're going to locate your backpack file. Well, so the password you need to give to have the backpack to be exported. Yes, request has been submitted. Now your data will be exported. Chandu, I repeat it again, Chandu. We did two things. You already asked this question. I repeat it for the other time. We created two things. One is a pass component and the other one is IaaS. Pass is where I created a SQL database. The SQL VM is I created later than that. Okay, I went for create a resource. I searched for SQL Server Management Studio, and here I added it. You can find SQL Server Management Studio Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2. So I selected this, and from here I landed up with my SQL VM. Are you clear at least now? Okay. How about others? I hope others are good to go, right? Harsha? Cool. Thanks, Tarak. Thanks, Harsha. Now the database has been exported, and to import the database, what you need to do is you have to go for the server that you have. So go for the SQL databases, and let's click on this database so that you can find the server. This is my server name. You can click on this server name. So I'm going to import the database, right? So I can just click on import database here. Click on import. And here you need to import your backpack file. Or prior to that, I can even show you the imported file what we have. So let's go for the Azure portal once again. Well, so here you can just go for storage accounts, and in the storage account you can find this one, SQL Edureka. Let's go for blobs, and in the blobs you can find a backpack file. You should have a container, and inside this container you should find a file. Right. So here we go. This is the backpack file that we have. Okay, edureka exp.backpack. So this is the backup that we have taken. And yes, we have a question from Joyrap. Why did we create a SQL Server Management Studio? Joyrap, I hope you were there with us where we created a SQL Server Management Studio. We created a on-premise database, and we tried to export that on-premise database, moving it towards the cloud environment, Azure cloud environment. So that was the reason why we created a SQL Server Management Studio VM. Is that okay? Cool. So now let me export this. I'll go for the storage account. I'll call the backpack file. Let's go for SQL Edureka. I'll call this container, and I'll locate the backpack file what I have here. Yeah, let's select this. Yeah. So the DB name has been given here, the collation, all these things given. Now you need to give the password alone. It's a demo at the rate pass 123. Pricing tier, I wish I could change this. I would go for a basic one. I will click on apply. Let's click on OK to get it done. So now the DB is getting imported. Once after the DB is imported, you can go for the SQL servers and you can check the import and the export history what you have. So we are at SQL Server now. You can just scroll down the overview. See here you can find the history, available resources, what's the elastic pool that you have, okay, all these things. And you can click on import and export history. This will give you the details. So importing failed. Oh, I changed the plan, right? So I changed the plan. That's the reason it got failed. Could not load the package since I changed the plan. So I have a cost metrics here. I'm running with 3,400 bucks only. Okay. So what you guys can do is you can try importing it with the same app service. I mean, same service plan, not app service, same service plan, so that it will work on the same. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions, please. SQL database import and export can be done by DB guys, or it can be done by only Azure Institute. Both people can do it, Rajiv. If you want the DB guys to do it, then you should have you should have given the client IP address to be whitelisted. That's it. Any other questions? Rajiv, I hope you were seeing this database. You had the server, right? See server name, and we had something called set server firewall. Can you find this set server firewall? So this is where we were whitelisting the IP address. Creating database is a role of IaaS guy. Uh, I don't have answer for it, Chandu, because either the IS guy can do it or even the DB admin should do it. It's on anyways. No problem, Raju. That's fine. Well, let me know if you have any questions. If not, we can go for the next demo, which is about implementing the Azure SQL database and having the storage backup recovery services on it. All clear. Good. So let's go for the next demo, which is about Azure SQL database and implementing storage backup recovery services. What we need to do here is that we have to add a database towards a pool. Okay, so we need to configure a pooling one over here. So go for your SQL database and let me say I will select this Edureka database. I need to select the pooling one. So let's go for the resource group and go for your pooling. Okay, the SQL Elastic pool, which we have it here, Edureka. Click on configure. You have configure here where you can configure the pool. Once after you go for configuring the pool, you're going to add the database towards the pooling one. Okay. So you need to go for Elastic Database Pool here. Give me one sec. Let me find it out. Yes, I can select this and you can go to the right. You can find here. It gives you the cost metrics, all these things. Okay. So you can configure the pool one over here. So this pool has been done. Now you need to add the database. So you go for the databases. Yep, this database. And you can say you can add it towards a new pool as such. So click on new pool and here you can add it towards a new pool. Okay, so a standalone database, you can give it on multiple pools. Let's say, for example, see, I'll create a standalone database. You can go for a database here. I'll say SQL database. I'll say SQL Edureka DB1 on the same resource group, blank database, the same server. Cool. So let's go for a basic one. I'll click on apply and let's click on create. Okay, let's go to this resource. Okay, once after you come to this resource, you can find that I would go for the server again, server name, and this you can say move. Okay, not to the resource group. Give me one sec. Yeah, new pool. And enter the elastic pool name. So this pooling. Oh, give me one sec. I need to find the pooling here. It should be on the pooling one. Give me one sec. Yes, on this pool. Configure. Yes, databases. Yeah, we have it here. Sorry. So you can find it on this databases. They have changed the options. Okay, go for this database and click on add database. So let's click on add database. And once when I say this, you can find this. I created this one, SQL Edureka DB1 now. So you can select this and you can click on apply. So you're adding a database inside your pooling one. Okay. So let's click on add for this. So it gets added up. You can click on save to get it added. So that's how you can add it towards a pooling. So once after this gets added up, you can find the pooling one, okay, per database settings. That is, for each and every database, how much pooling configuration you have given, that you can check it over here. And the utilization, you can find it here. See the pool utilization, the DTUs that it has, okay, how much it has consumed, all these things. So storage percentage is 0.09. We don't have much data over there. And DTU percentage is only 2.8. When it reaches 100 percentage, then the DTUs will be maximum utilized. Okay. Yeah, it's getting imported. Let me know if you have any questions, please. Do you have any questions on importing the database towards the pooling? Or you're there, Harsha? Can we take a break for 10 minutes? Yeah, Rajiv, give me some 2 minutes. Let's take a break. Okay, I'll just complete this if they have any questions and then we can break. Okay. Yeah, seems my 1 month trial is over, so subscription is disabled. Do I need to create one more account? Yeah, Chandu, you need to create one more account in that case. Hey, Asha. Yep. Asha, you mean that you're all good, right? Rajiv, can you quickly give me some 5 minutes? I'll complete one more demo and we shall break. Is that okay? Rajiv, are you there? Okay, thanks. So now we are going to perform a demo where we are going to try removing a database from the pool. Okay. So to remove a database from the pool, come to this configure. Okay. And you can scroll, you can find the databases that we have. So go for databases. You can find the DBs here. Okay. Which has been imported. You can select any of a database. Say for example, I will select the same database, Edureka. Once after selecting the database, you can find remove from pool. So click on this remove from pool and this will help you to remove it. You can click on save and you can remove the database. So that's about removing from your pool. Okay, so that will be a standalone one where it will not give you a good performance. Okay, so it's not a recommended one, but still you can make sense with this. Okay, so that's about moving a database out of an elastic pool. So once after you do that, it will come as a standalone one. And you can also change the performance settings. So to change the performance settings, you can go for storage limits per pool. Okay, so go for, see, we have at the configuration pool, come for per database settings. Okay, once after you come for this database settings, you can set the pool DTUs. You can go for pool settings, and here you can set the DTUs for each and every database, for per database, all these things. Okay, so that's about setting up the configuration pool for your Elastic Pool settings. Hope you guys are clear until this, right? Well, so let's take a break for some 15 minutes and we shall join after 15 minutes. Is that okay? Harsha, any questions? Cool. Thanks, Jaira. Thanks, Rajay, for your time. Let's take a break for 15 minutes. Hey Karthik, is Elastic Pool divide the database into small units? No, Karthik. The Elastic Pool will not divide the database into small units. It divides the pooling capacity, divides the DTU's capacity to give a better predictable performance for all the databases. It's not going to divide the databases. It means pooling is for performance concept. 100% Tarak. Shall we go for the next concept? I hope people are back from the break, right? Hi, Vipul. Yeah, cool. So the next is about implementing the storage recovery services. Okay, so let's say that you have a Azure SQL database. Okay, and you want to come up with a recovery service for, I mean, a data recovery service or anything. So in that case, Azure helps with something called as Azure Storage Recovery Service. So this will create a recovery service vault, and this will help you to take a backup of whatever you have in your database in a sequential manner. So this is like you can compare the recovery service vault. You can take up a backup vaults. Okay, it can help you to enhance the capabilities to keep your backup data to be secure. You can even put up a role-based access control. All these things using your recovery service vault. Now let's get ahead on creating this recovery service vault. And to do that, you can just go here, click on create a resource. Let's search for recovery service vault here, right? So you should find this, wait, yep. You have this recovery service vault. Let's click on this and I'll click on create to get it created. So they have changed the name as OMS now. Okay. So inside that you have the same name. Just click on add and enter the name for this. Click add. Okay. So the very first name is you need to enter the name for the recovery service vault. I will say it is Edureka RSV and it's going to be Azure Pass. I'll put it on the same resource group where I have my databases. So Edureka module 7 resource group and I'll click on create to get it created. So once when the recovery service vault is created, you can go for the storage redundancy. Let's wait until it gets deployed. Yes. So let's go for this resource. And from here, I would say that I have this recovery service vault which I have selected. From there, I can go for entering my backup plans which I'm going to take it up. So here you can go scroll down in the settings blade. Okay, you can find that we have the logs, all these things. Can you find this? You have backup, you have site recovery, backup alerts. You can perform the backup policies, all these things. Now let's just go ahead and say that I'll put up a backup infrastructure. So for that I need to scroll down. I will say backup infrastructure and I'm going to configure the backup now. So you can click on the backup configuration to open the backup configuration blade. And here you're going to say that either you're going to have the backup in a locally redundant way or in a geo-redundant way. You can choose the appropriate storage replication, which will be optimal for you. So let's say I will go for a geo redundant. Okay. And once after you do this backup configuration, you can close this. You can come for just the backup, the normal backup what you have here. Click on this backup and you can set a backup goal. So my backup is going to be from Azure, and I'm going to take it from the SQL Server or from the Azure VM what we have here. Okay. So let's say virtual machine itself, and then you can click on backup to take a backup. If the database is running on, let's say if the database is running on your Azure VM, right, on your web application or anything, then you can say that this is going to work for us. I will also help you guys to make sense about going up, taking a backup from the on-premise environment. So let's say on-premise, and here you can see that I'm going to take a backup of my files and folders, and you can just click on prepare the infrastructure environment to take the backup. So once when you do this, you'd get this pop-up where you're going to prepare the infrastructure and you need to go up with all these things to be done. Let me quickly do one thing. I'll get into my Windows environment. Yeah, this Windows environment. And here I will do that. Okay, because I need to install a tool. So let's go for resource groups. I will go for my backup recovery service. So let's scroll down. Yeah, Eureka RSV. And yeah, backup. Backup from my on-premise environment. And it's going to be for files and folders. Okay, let's prepare the infrastructure. Now go ahead, download the tools. Okay, you have download agent for Windows Server or Windows Client. Just download this. Let's click on save, and we should run the same. So I'll click on run to install this tool. Let's click on next, install the same. Okay, yep. Some question. Is there any checklist for any VM creation? Rajiv, it's not a checklist. You just need to know the building blocks. I hope you remember we were discussing by the day one itself. I was speaking about the virtual networks. I was speaking about the network security group, routing tables, all these things. So those are the building blocks that you have, not as a checklist. So well, we are done with this installation, and you can go for proceed to registration, and this will ask you for the vault credentials. So this vault credentials you can get it from here. Okay, you should find this download vault credentials to register the server. So let's say you can click on download. So we have it here. Let's click on save, and I would open this. Okay, I'll say browse, and it will be at my downloads. Here goes my vault credentials. So let's click on next to get it done, and you can enter the phrase now. Okay, so if your machine has a proxy or limited internet access, then you should have configured at that previous step itself. Now let's take up this. I'll enter the phrase, or I'll say generate phrase. Enter location to save the phrase. Let's put it here. I'll say that you can have it on my documents. Let's click on finish, and the server is getting registered to take the backup. Okay, so consider this as my on-premise environment. So whatever the data that I have at this on-premise environment will be taken as a backup. Yeah, no problem, Rajiv. Let me know if you want to know what all the building blocks again, then I can help you out. Okay. Hopefully, you should find the video that we have. So that should also help you out. This topic is not related to SQL DB, right? No, this is related to SQL DB, Asha. See, this speaks about what if you have a web application which is connected to the database at on-premise, how you can take a backup. Okay. So this is related to your SQL database. So you can click on close, and now this will launch your backup agent. Here we have. Okay. So the backups have not been configured. You can schedule a backup by clicking on schedule backup, and let's go for next to get it added up. You can select the items. We don't have any items here. Okay. Maybe let's say if you have a data tier here, I mean your database or something, you can select that and you can say that you can take a backup of this as such. Let's say I would select this and it can take a backup as such. You can click on next. Okay. You can schedule a backup either by every day or by week. Okay. You can click on next. You're going to give the timing retention policy on this blade, and you're asking whether to take up the backup over the network or the offline backup that you have on the staging environment or container environment, all these things. Let's take up a automatic backup over the network itself. And when you click on finish, you can find that it takes a backup from your on-premise environment. It will put it on towards your cloud environment. So you can click on close, and this is going to perform the backup operation for you. Is that okay? Any questions on this? I hope it's all good, right? Cool. So the next demo what we have here is to speak about the geo replication that we have. Okay. So the database that you create, say for example, this Edureka, right? So this can also get connected with all your environments. You can find that when I say connection strings, you can find that it can get connected with ADO.NET, that's your SQL authentication, JDBC, okay, your ODBC environment, and your PHP applications as well. So you can download the driver for all these things. And further, you can scroll down, you can find something called geo replication. So this is about you're going to replicate your database from a primary data center region towards a secondary data center region. Let's say, for example, if the primary data center is not going to work for you, then you can get it replicated. I mean, you can get the access from the secondary data center region. So by default, the secondary data center region will have only the read access. Okay. And if the primary goes down, then the secondary would be having both read and write access. Now let me say that I will migrate it towards a secondary plan. So let's select East US, and you can create a server on that. I will say it's going to be a Edureka US. Okay. Let's click on select to get it selected. The pricing tier is also selected. You click on OK, you can find that it gets replicated. So from the primary data center region, it gets replicated towards your secondary data center region. So that's a replication that you're performing here. You have some question? You need demo on connection strings. Okay, I'll go one by one. Hi Arsha, where is the backup job that we have created? Good. So the backup job that we have created, you can find it here. Give me one sec. You can go for this, right? Sorry, this is the one which we created, Edureka RSV, and you click on backup. Okay, sorry, give me one sec. Backup jobs, completed fetching data from the service. Okay, we had no data on the machine. Okay, so it says that it has completed operation, all operations succeeded. Okay, by this time, 21/9, 8:55 a.m. Okay, and if you have any data, you can find it here. Okay, you can even check it on the backup reports. You can connect it towards the Power BI and you can find it here. Are you clear, Harsha? See, we just set up an infrastructure, right? We are not developing Azure solutions. We did not put up any data over there. Okay. Yeah. Hey Tarak, demo on connection string, please. Tarak, connection strings is like you can go here. Say for example, I would go for this home database. Let's say it's going to be Edureka database. Edureka. Okay. You can find connection strings. This is the same of what you had there. You can just download it and you can connect for the web application what you're going to develop as such. You can give the user ID, you can give the password. Okay, say for example, demo user and demo 30, pass 123. So you can give this and you can connect to your web application. So you need to first develop a web application on your .NET environment. Okay, and then you can give this to get connected towards your SQL database. Are you clear, Tarek? Tarak, this is implementing Azure solutions. Okay, whatever your posting is for developing Azure solutions. Okay, I hope you remember it's like exam 7523, what we are working out now. It's implementing Azure SQL database. Okay, if it's on developing, then we would be having it. Provided I can also help you out, I'll just pass a document via support panel. Okay, and that should work for you people. Is that okay? I will share a document of how you can do work with your connection strings, and that will help you guys to go ahead. Is that okay, Tarak? Okay, cool. So you can go for the overview and you can find the database which should be replicated. It should be on two regions, right? The replication is done now. The further things that you have is you can scroll down, you can find something called advanced threat protection. So this is all the security layers that you have. You can go for advanced threat protection. It's getting loaded. One sec. Just refreshing. Hey Vipul, Choirap, am I audible now? Hey Arsha, yes, of course you have. Yeah, thanks for acknowledging. Arsha, of course you have a separate cost building. If you are going to move for the replication pattern, you need to pay for that server separately. Okay. And the other question Rajiv asks is it possible for you to do a favor? Can you please create some checklists to create VM so that we cannot miss anything to create? Sure, I will do that. I will put that, Rajiv. Don't worry. Let me complete this and then I will do it. Okay. So this geo replication is done. I will go for advanced threat protection. So this advanced threat protection is where it's going to say the failovers that you're going to have in the database. Okay. The data discovery, the classification, a vulnerable attack, anonymous login. So those all these things will be protected using this advanced threat protection. You can click on this, enable advanced threat protection. So this is successfully enabled and this will take automatic logs of everything that you have. Again, this is a separate billing. Okay. You can click on settings and you can configure it if you need. So here we have the DB settings. You can enable advanced threat protection. You can click on yes. And the detection types, you can filter it here. Okay. You can also set an alert. You can just put an alert. Say for example, if something happens, I need to get a mail at this email ID. Okay, and detection types you can find it here. You have SQL injection, injection vulnerability, data exfiltration, unsafe action, anonymous login. Okay, you can put all these things, and when any of these things are going to happen, I would be getting a mail. So that's about the security layer that we have in your Azure SQL database, and you would be going up with the next one as well. You can find auditing. So you can go for auditing. So this will take a server level auditing, whatever that happens on your database. Okay, regardless of the database settings. So let's say you have a particular server, and in that particular server, if you have 10 database or 15 database, anything as such, all those things should be kept in track by this blob auditing that you have. You can click on. See, it's going to take a control. It's going to create a storage account, and there it will save all the logs, whatever you have. You can click on save to get it saved. Oh, okay. The subscription is not allowing me to do it. It's a Azure Pass one. Okay. So you can try going up with a different storage account if you have enough money, and that will help you out. Okay, just makes sense. Next is you have dynamic data masking. The dynamic data masking is where you're going to hide a table or how you're going to hide a schema, column, all these things. So you can click on add and you can say which schema you're going to hide it, which table you're going to add it on your database, and the column as well. So you can select all these things for the masking role. Masking is nothing but you're going to hide it. Okay. So ideally, you would not represent the schema of what you have in your database when you speak it towards your client. Let's say I'm going to put it on a web application or anything, then I would not be sharing my schema. If I share the schema, then it's going to be like a security layer which is going to drop down. Okay. So that we can drop it across. And you have transparent data encryption. So this is about the data encryption that you have. You can encrypt your data. You can go up with encrypting as such, like whatever the data that you're going to push in, you can encrypt it, and when you take it across, you can decrypt it. Okay, so those things you can do it over here. Remember, all these security layers are going to be another separate cost building that you have here. Okay, so that's about your database security layer, and for monitoring, you have this alerts, the same like what we did in security. You can go for alerts here. And from this alert, you can add a metric alert. You can click on add metric alert and you can name the alerts here. Let's say Edoreka, or I will say alert one. This is a demo alert. Alert on metrics. Okay, metrics you can say whether the data in, data out, CPU percentage, the limit that it gets used, okay, all these things. So let me say CPU percentage, and I would say that when it goes more than one threshold for a period of 5 minutes, it has to send an email. Okay, I will also give other email IDs. So it will process a mail, and you can also take up an action using a logic app. You can build a logic app, you can take up an action using logic app. I'll click on OK to get it done. So here we go, the alert rule has been done. So when it goes more than 75%, automatically I'll be getting a mail. And you have the metrics where you have an explorer, you can find the metrics about the consumption, the data in, the data out, all these things. So here you can filter, you can say CPU percentage, and you can get a graphical of how much CPU consumption has been done, right? And you have the diagnostic settings. You can go to diagnostic settings. I hope you remember we were taking all the logs, right? So this diagnostic settings will take the log of all those things and it will store it on a particular storage account. You can turn on diagnostics, see. It's going to take the logs based on the SQL insights, errors, audit. So all these metrics logs will be taken and it will be stored on towards a storage account. Or you can even stream to an event tab, or you can send it towards a log analytics of your OMS account. Well, so by that we come to the end for this Azure SQL database. Let me know if you need any questions to be clarified or if you need any support. Okay. Other than that, you can perform the demo of whatever we discussed today, and you can let me know if you have any questions. So the checklist, what Rajiv was asking about, yes. So I will just go ahead and I will say checklist for Azure VMs. So the first thing that you need to do is you have to set the VM name. Okay. Second thing, credentials for your username, credentials for your virtual machine. Third one is going to be the size. Oh, I'm sorry. The image that you're going to use, size of the VM. Fifth one is going to be your probably the availability sets, and availability zones. Sixth is going to be your network security group, disk configurations. Either it's going to be a managed disk or unmanaged disk. Eighth is diagnostic storage accounts. The ninth one is going to be your, let's say, you would be giving the auto shutdown behaviors, right? So all these things, and once after you configure all these things, you can just put it across. That's it. Is that okay, Rajiv? What else? What else checklist you're asking about? I'm talking about like VNet storage account. Yeah, of course. See, diagnostic storage account is nothing but your storage account. Yes, I left. See, NSG deals with VNet, isn't it? Before your NSG, you'll be putting up your VNet. Rajiv, are you there? This is the parameter. Rather than this, you don't have anything. The very first thing is you'll put up a virtual network if you want to put up a proper infrastructure. Okay, or even if you fail to do that, when you create a VM, you can create a virtual network, and for that virtual network, you can put up a network security group. Any other questions? Okay. So I'd be available here. I'll wait for your questions. Okay, please do the demo and let me know if you have any questions. Rajiv, do you have any questions? I could see you have raised your hands. Hey, Rajiv. Okay. Hey, Sandeep. So it's here on this link. Okay, sorry, I was at mute. Yes, you can find it on this link. And regarding the sixth module, I'm just converting it. Okay, both the sixth and seventh module, I will convert it and I will keep it posted on the same. Okay, yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Hi, Joyrap. I have created a DB server. What's next to perform? So try creating a SQL database, and in your DB server, you should get connected to your DB. I mean the SQL database that you're going to create. So if you want to get connected, you need to whitelist the IP address. You're speaking about the SQL Server Management Studio machine, or you're speaking about the Azure SQL Database. Hey, Choida, are you there? Yep. I just posted a question to you. What you have created so far? Hi, Joyrup. Any questions? Okay. Can you please explain the SQL pool again? What is Okay. Sure. So, Joyrup, SQL pool is that it gives you a predictable performance. Okay, let's say that you have a database and you're going to ensure that your database would be having 100 concurrent users, and it would be having a particular throughput that it has been needed. Let's say throughputs on 80 or 60, something like that. Okay. Based on that, you need to fix your pooling. Okay, so for each and every database tier, you can set a pooling limit, and that pooling, if it's not consumed by other database, you can call the pooling of other database to, let's say database one is not using a pooling. Okay, you can call the database two can call the pooling capacity of database one, and it can give a performance for your applications. So that's why we go for SQL pooling. Are you clear, Jairo? If you're not giving a pooling, okay, if you're not giving the pooling one, then your database will have the performance to be low when there's going to be more throughputs. Well, any other questions? Okay, I hope we can close with this for the day, right? Hey guys, are you there? Yep, thanks, Asha. So thank you, Vipul. Do let me know if you have any questions. Okay, write for support at edureka.co, or you can even post it to me. Okay, and the video will be available. You can just check it by another probably 1 hour, something like that. The video will be available on the YouTube and on the LMS as well. So just go ahead with the same, right? Fine. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. See you by tomorrow on the next module. Thank you.